This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
To noon.
Just listen. Just listen.
Good stuff. The 9 to noon radio show is in the air. Mark Schlereth, three-time Super Bowl champion, joins the radio show later. Likewise for Max Brosmer. Went to Vikings practice yesterday and recorded an interview with Vikings quarterback Max Brosmer. I believe you will enjoy about an hour and 15 minutes from now. Elite intel by Justin Gerdsey, who knows Max Brosmer from his University of Minnesota season. And he dressed him up nicely, talking about what a wonderful, authentic, and gregarious individual Brosmer is. And I learned that yesterday, spending about 25 minutes with him, and about 10, 11, or 12 of it in interview-like fashion. So make sure you find the Brosmer portion of the equation. That's about 10:20, 9 to noon. The State Fair transpires tomorrow. 9 to noon cracks it open for FM 100.3 KFAN. And then the Vikings close their preseason on Friday, 7 o'clock, KFAN and the Minnesota Vikings Audio Network. Pregame begins at 5 with main man Muss. And then we will boom it against the Tennessee Titans. They'll cut down to 53 on Tuesday, and the practice squad will be established. And 19 days from today, the Minnesota Vikings take on the Chicago Bears for the season opener. Also on that season opener, and much more NFL-wise, it's Wednesday, so Mike Florio from ProFootballTalk.com will join at about 9:40. That'll be after some Vikes Bites. And in Vikes Bites, we're going to have a defensive bent to that today at 11 o'clock as we await our first guest. And I'm really excited to chat with this individual. I think you'll enjoy it. We unfurled the Puncher's Chance Super Bowl bit yesterday and eliminated 5 teams, the 5 favorites: Buffalo, Baltimore, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Motor City Kitties, and went from those 19-1 or above, the San Francisco 49ers, all the way down to the Nolens Saints. And the one team we did not get to is the Minnesota Vikings. And at 11:03 today, we are going to analyze said party with the Lombardi Santa Clara Strut chances for the Minnesota Vikings, and also pay off the longer shots that we believe legitimately have a chance to win the Super Bowl. And for me, there are 3, maybe 4, and that's going to take place at about 11 o'clock. Now, before the Brosmer segment at 10:20, about an hour from now, the quarterback carousel for the Minnesota Vikings, a quarterback quandary, so to speak, that's going to be addressed and we're going to lay out some scenarios into this Titans game, into this final preseason game, that pretty much shape what we expect to happen when they cut down next week on Tuesday. And JJ, the fan has learned JJ McCarthy will be QB1. But what about 2? And will there be a 3? And what about the practice squad? And what if you put a guy on the practice squad the New Orleans Saints look at as a new age Aaron Brooks?
I always love that one.
And they go to plucking. That's at 10 o'clock. And we're going to talk about each of the 4 on the roster. And via wonderment, cast our gaze the way of Friday. And, kind of go to guessing as to how we think it's going to work out for these quarterbacks for the Minnesota Vikings on Friday. And that'll segue quite nicely into our Max Brosmer interview at about 10:20. Brosmer, he's the genuine article. I mean, it's granted we're talking about 25 minutes, but I mean, I've interviewed a lot of people for a lot of years and a lot of first-time starters, meaning rookies, and that 25 minutes I spent with him, it was different, and we're going to talk about that in the first segment of the 10 o'clock hour. But now, boom, tomorrow we clomp for a week and a half at the State Fair, so let's leave the studio in style. Some really cool things coming up today, as we just mentioned, courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. That's what's on deck. And we begin with an awesome football mind. He's Dave McGinnis, or Coach Mac, as everybody calls him. Mac is the analyst for the Titans Radio Network, a dear 2-day combined friend, and he coached in the NFL for 31 years, including a stint leading Josh McCown and the Arizona Cardinals. He was the head coach and on the right sideline for this.
Get back, guys.
Here it is. The season's on the line. 2 receivers left and right. McCown takes the snap. He steps up. He's all by himself. Fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No! The Cardinals have knocked the Vikings out of the playoffs.
Coach Mac, you caused that play-by-play voice guy to nearly lose his voice. He was apoplectic, and I'd imagine for a variety of reasons, Coach Mac, that's a moment you'll never forget. And good morning.
Good morning, brother. Yeah, I mean they've used that as one of the iconic calls in the annals of the National Football League, because that was quite a ball game. I mean, it was pretty interesting. But you and I have talked about that over the years, and you know what? When you've been involved in this league, this is my 39th straight year in the league, there's going to be some things that happen that you just can't explain. That's one of them, brother.
Ain't no doubt. And you were the head coach for Emmitt Smith's final game, Josh McCown early in his career from Sam Houston State. Nathan Poole gets the key to the city in Green Bay because they went to the playoffs and the Vikings didn't. There are just so many tentacles from that one game. Now, you and fellow Texan Josh McCown are very close. He's the quarterback's coach here. So you should get some good skinny, some good intel on J.J. McCarthy as you guys catch up on Thursday and or Friday, right?
Yeah, well, I won't ask Josh about that. We're in the preseason. You're right. Josh and I are very close, though. I mean, I made a real point to make a push to draft Josh because we were losing Jake Plummer. I wanted somebody that had a similar skill set, and Josh had a tremendous National Football League career. And now I talk to him every year at the Combine. I know that he's an excellent coach, but look, he's a good Jacksonville, Texas dude. So he and I have been pretty close for quite a while.
Coach Mack, what to the lesson at hand, 2025? What are you liking about your quarterback, the Miami rookie Cam Ward?
Yeah, he's going to be the quarterback, and I mean he's going to go through some peaks and valleys as any rookie quarterback's going to be, but. The thing that I like about him is he doesn't have a whole lot of distractions around him. He really doesn't. There's not a lot of BS around this guy. He's been through quite a bit in his career to get to this point, and has proven at every step of the ladder that he's taken up. You know, from Incarnate Word, you know, all the way through to Washington State, and then to the University of Miami, that he's up for the challenge wherever he is. But he's also, I mean, he's got both feet on the ground. I mean, you've been doing this a long time, and especially at that quarterback position, these young players that come into the league that have the ability to not have any distractions around them early on when they start their career. It's really, really important to be able to start off on solid ground. This guy, as they say in Texas where I grew up, he was raised right, and he understands the priorities that are in place. He's got the respect of his teammates, and he got that almost immediately just because he just puts his head down and works. And so he's going to be the quarterback here in the future. Now, is it going to be perfect for him to start with? No, but he's got an innate skill set that got him to this point. And as he develops even better, and the people around him get better, this is an extremely, extremely young football team in a rebuilding mode. But he's a nice guy to be building around.
Coach Mack, is there a player for you who you know will play Friday who has been eye-opening to you during training camp and or the preseason games?
Yeah, second-year linebacker Cedric Gray out of North Carolina that missed all of his rookie season, basically. He had a shoulder injury early last year in training camp. And so, I had cut my teeth coaching linebackers in this league, 39 years ago. With Mike Ditka and the Bears. And I know this, when young linebackers come into the league and they miss that early part, and they miss just because it's a different game. Their eyes have to adjust to the speed. They have to understand that they're looking at different things. The field dimensions everything's different, especially playing at that second level. Well, he missed all of that last year. He has really shown now through this off season. We've got a really good, strong linebacker coach here, and Frank Bush, who's a longtime NFL vet, and this kid is taken to the coaching, and he's starting to do the details of the job that are really, really important. He's got an innate quickness. He's got the ability to K and D or key and diagnose very, very well. But now he's starting to be able to understand, and it's an expression that people use a lot in this game when you're talking about young players. It's starting to slow down a little bit for him. So Cedric Gray from North Carolina is a kid that's caught my eye, especially the last few weeks.
Now, for the Vikings, if you're interested, it's undrafted quarterback Max Brosmer, who works closely with Josh, obviously. And I ain't kidding you, man. They may have hit on a good one, Coach, via college free agency. And that never, ever happens with quarterbacks, right, from college free agency?
Well, it happens. I mean, it really doesn't matter, all the years that I coached in this league over 3 decades, I would always tell, and when I was an assistant head coach, when I was in charge of all the rookie classes that would come in, I would tell them, look, all of you have gotten into the doors of this facility in a different manner. Doesn't matter how you got here. You're in the building now. So what you do when you're in the building, it's up to you. It's up to you to be able to absorb the knowledge from the coaches, from the players, just what it takes to be in this league. So regardless of how you get into the league, it's what you do with your opportunities. And it sounds to me like Brosmer's taking advantage of it. And I trust you because you've been at it a long time.
This is Dave McGinnis, a long-time National Football League coach, former head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. He's the analyst for the Titans radio network. Who's your new radio partner, given Mike Keith bolted for his alma mater, his beloved Volunteers?
Yeah, Taylor Zarzour, who is, has worked, has worked for the SEC. Has also had done some games in the National Football League with the Carolina Panthers. Long time PGA commentator. But he's a real professional. I mean, and look, when Mike Keith left, you're right. I mean, Mike Keith, was the foundation of Titans radio here, and so when he got an opportunity to go back and revamp the whole Vols network, well, clearly he had to take that. But so, when they put out this job opening, there was over 400 applicants for it. So they went through a really extensive vetting process. And so Taylor Zarzour is the voice that you'll be hearing along with me on Titans radio. And so far, it's been pretty smooth.
So with the new play-by-play guy, you have to get hand signals and waves and tendencies, right, with the new guy, or is it business as usual?
Well, I mean, the thing, I'm the only former head coach doing this, and I've been doing it for quite a while, and as I say, he's the ultimate pro. So we synced up pretty quick. I mean, 9 years ago when I came here from LA with Mike Keith to start doing this, I mean, it only took us about 2 series to sync up. And I think Taylor and I got synced up, just that quickly because, as well as I do, you've been in the booth for a long time. If both of you know what you're doing,
yeah,
and it's got a flow to it, then it works out pretty naturally. The thing that and again, I'm not an expert broadcaster, but I do understand being able to fit and flow and understand how things have to get a rhythm to it. And we seem to have a pretty nice rhythm already.
Coach Mack, your division, specifically one team. What do you think of the Houston Texans? And I ask because, once again, they have a ton of speed and are the league's shiny toy. But sometimes I don't find them that hard to beat. What do you think?
Well, I mean, here's what they've done. And, they went through a period down there in Houston where they had 2 one-year head coaches, which is always tough. I mean, anytime you have instability at that position, that's really hard. But what they did, they drafted extremely well. They drafted extremely well, especially defensively. They've got a defensive group put together that can really play. And then C.J. Stroud comes along and has a really nice rookie year. His sophomore season wasn't as strong, but they've done a good job of building up personnel around him. To me, they're still a favorite in this division right now. I mean, that's the way I look at it. And, I've watched them pretty closely because clearly, the Titans play them twice a year. And I've been in this division, for 17 years now, 8 as a coach and now going on 9 years as a broadcaster. So I understand the AFC South pretty well and the iterations of it. Right now, they are the people to beat in this division.
Are you liking the Titans rookie edge from UCLA, Femi Oladejo? And if so, what does your trained eye see?
Yeah, well, it's Femi Oladejo, so I know you want to be exactly perfect when you say it during the broadcast. But Femi, here's what he's got. He's a speed-to-power guy. He's got all the traits he needs to learn to develop. He needs to learn to develop a counter punch. So this draft class is a decent draft class. It really is. They're all going to have to play. This draft class, they did a nice job of vetting these guys, and they've developed during the off season and the preseason. But he's not a finished product yet, and I think it would be the first to tell you that. But I really like his innate skills. And here's the other thing I like: the guy is a really, really good worker, and he pays attention. Anytime I find rookies that pay attention, they've got a chance.
Now, Friday night, Brandon Allen and former Viking Trevor Siemian, right? No chance at Cam Ward, right?
No, I think. Well, the head coach says his starters are going to play some.
Oh.
As I said, this is a young football team, and what a head coach has to do. I've been in his position before with a very young, developing team. I mean, you got to walk that line between how much work they can get. The thing that Brian Callahan did that I really agreed with. We just came back off of a 10-day swing. Well, we were gone for 10 days. We went to Tampa Bay to practice against them, and then played a preseason game, and then immediately got on an airplane and we flew to Atlanta for a week. Practiced twice against them and then play the game. But those joint practices, especially on the road, he took this whole organization on the road for 10 days. I think it really paid dividends as far as being able to bring a younger team closer together. And also, as a coach, and I learned this quite a bit with the guys that I learned under in this league. When you've got a young team, sometimes you like to put them in some uncomfortable situations because the National Football League is uncomfortable. You've got to learn to be able to overcome obstacles. So anyway, the starters have played in the last 2 ball games. Now, depending on their status, they've played a certain amount of plays, a certain amount of series. But he said already that the starters are going to play some. Now, he gives himself a lot of leeway, but that's what he said yesterday, and I believe him when he says it.
Lastly here, Coach Mack, thank you for the time, too. Nashville,
Sure.
The town is begging for this team to get good, right? I mean, Nashville is such an awesome football town, and especially when the Titans are good.
Oh, well, I mean, I've been here during those years. both as the coach and then, when I first started broadcasting here, I mean, they had, 4, straight playoff berths when I was here. And it's like any other team. They go through ebbs and flows. I mean, I've been through it all. You have too. I mean, you've seen teams, yes, but this is a great, great football city. And the fans, of course, they were indoctrinated pretty quick because the first time they played in this stadium back in 1999, they go to the Super Bowl, and they've been very loyal and very knowledgeable fans ever since. So, sure, I mean, and it's and the city is growing by leaps and bounds. So, anytime you're winning here, it's a lot of fun.
Mac, I'll see you Friday, and I really look forward to it. Always enjoy our conversations. Thank you very much for joining the radio show. God bless and have a good day, okay?
You're the best, brother. I look forward to seeing you this weekend. See ya.
See ya. That's Dave McGinnis, Coach Mac. 31 years as a coach in the National Football League. Began as a linebackers coach for Mike Ditka's Chicago Bears. Was a coach of the Arizona Cardinals for that 03 Klomp, McCown to Nathan Poole. And now a wonderful and affable analyst for the vast and ever-expanding Tennessee Titans Audio Network. I'm Paul Allen. Thank you for listening. Nordo produces and guides us through Vikes Bites when 9 to noon continues at FM 100.3 KFAN.
To the fan. Vikes Bites, brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. You can shop online. Box of meat will show up at your doorstep. You can go to your local Coburns, Co-ops, Kowalski's. You heard Ben Lieber talking about it during the break. Proud sponsors of Gophers Athletics as well. Local company, Clearwater, Minnesota's finest. Nutrient-dense beef. I love it. I smoke with it. I grill with it. I think you'll like it too. Let's start here. Some audio from Blake Cashman, PA. And first he's talking about, he has his own goals and he wants to reach them.
Just trying to improve on my goals that I have, and that's punching at balls, getting my hands on the rock in the passing game. Try to create what I like to call splash plays, game-changing plays. And so, when I'm watching the film, I'm kind of tallying on my notepad, hey, am I punching at the ball or not? Because every single time I'm getting to the rock, I should be, throwing a punch in there.
How does Blake Cashman get better, PA? Is there an aspect of this where just intrinsically or inherently the defensive front being improved assists in that process? But Blake Cashman loved all the tackles, missed him the 2 games he wasn't available, but overall, terrific first season in purple. How does a Blake Cashman improve on things?
By retrieving at some point during the regular season his very first defensive touchdown.
Ooh.
Grenard has an interception touchdown when he was with the Texans. Van Ginkel has a little more than a handful of defensive touchdowns.
You're putting me on a stat head project, aren't you?
You don't need to get on it. And then Cashman joins them last year in free agency, and he wants to join the club. So maybe getting a defensive touchdown, which could be via the scoop and score. But the true answer to your question is something is going to change with him and for the better. And he's already good. He, could be leading tackle guy on this team every single year if he stays healthy. But with Hargrave and Allen and what's in front of him, like you laid out, something's going to be different. And despite all the practice that I've watched, I haven't really watched for him shooting A-gaps or like what he feigns and then what he sells and then what he does. He's already quite the accomplished football player, and he fits in quite nicely along with Ivan Pace Jr., whose blitzing Ivan Pace Jr.'s blitzing has just instinctively become so good.
Ooh.
Now the back pedal on the pass rush, pass coverage, that needs to improve. But that's why you have high-end rushers that they have to take heat off his Tampa 2 drops and or whichever corners you end up using.
Vikes Bites. More from Cashman, specifically, and part of that audio I just played, kind of talking, punching at the ball, making splash plays. Well, another element of this defense he talks about is creating turnovers.
It needs to be a habit you work on in practice, and then once you get to the game, those habits, it's almost, subconsciously you're thinking ball on all your tackles or getting in the right windows. I even, spent time early in training camp talking to Jordan Addison a little bit on, how receivers are coached to attack the ball.
More from Blake on this.
When we look at the film last year, obviously, I think we tied the league in takeaways, but we definitely left probably like another 10 out there. We could have set a record. So, we see that as, an opportunity to grow and really shoot for the stars this year on that.
I've thought about this a lot only because of the Zimmer tenure where, and we've talked about this many times, PA, it was so important to Zimmer, specifically placement. It was a chessboard for Coach Zimmer and all the pawns and the rooks and the knights and the bishops, etc.
A game of inches with him.
And to the point where Greenway always tells that story about training camp, and he ran across 3 practice fields to move him 6 inches to his right. I mean, wow, welcome to town, Coach Zimmer. But it was so important for placement that it was, improvisation, ball hawking, playmaking. That was all secondary specifically to Zimmer's scheme. Now, is there something different than about, and Cashman nailed it, they tied for the league lead in turnovers a year ago, and I kind of like it, and I guess I would expect it. We left 10 on the table. We could have set a record. It wasn't good enough.
Stat head.
Always trying to get better. Yeah, I think, you mentioned the 86 Bears had like 50-some turnovers, so Vikings defense got some work to do if they're going to set any records. And if they set a record, might be a Lombardi party, might be Santa Clara strutting. But to that end, is there something specifically like a mentality element of it, or potentially just the basics of Flores' scheme, where turnovers or the opportunities for them may just be a natural consequence of the chaos that Flores puts in front of people?
I agree, but it's the adversary recognizes that too and doesn't want to concede. Okay, it's a natural occurrence because of the way you run defense. The 3-4 hybrid with the floaters and a side dish of Doug Plank's 85 Bears 46. But they don't want to acquiesce to that. So I think the best way to answer is like Van Ginkel playing the way Van Ginkel played last year, when he'd be up on the line and he would be so well studied, he would get the tells from mostly the receivers on what was coming. And then he would just jump in there and he would catch it, and there he goes. Well, if the gink is not right, that's a problem, because now all of a sudden you got a guy 5-6 yards away from where he's supposed to be. So there is a lot. Retention is the answer. Retention of what your expectations are. Metellus has as much, if not the most, free reign to be the Doug Plank of the 85 Bears for this defense. I mean, we're edge guy, we're defensive end, slot corner, free and strong safety, linebacker spots. So he has more freedom and flexibility than the others. So I think a lot starts and stops with him that just is really hard to figure out unless you're an elite defensive coordinating mind, offensive coordinating mind. But tipped passes at the line of scrimmage, I know that they want more of those. So Hargrave's not super tall. Allen is taller. Harrison Phillips might have had 3 or 4 last year, something like that. But underneath we brought in the beef eaters. We know they're off injury, and we trust Tyler, so we're going to be good there. But we know they can rush, but can they tip passes at the line of scrimmage? So maybe beloved Cashman can get one with a free lane, and there he goes. That just all goes together with the, like you said, the natural result of the unpredictability of what Brian Flores offers. That it took place in games last year, and I've seen it this year in training camp, where, one thing you do have to, it's not a pick your poison, but it does have a double-edged sword to it, where mostly it's going to work exactly how you want it to work. But if A, B, C, D, and all the way down to E, maybe F, get picked up, the middle of the field can be, that could be open all night. So, that's why the linebacker drops are so important, and Metellus' floating role is so important. It's a very fun defense to watch. It's changed this year. I mean, it's rush happy, and they rush pretty much every single play. Some plays it may be 4, some plays it may be 7 strewn across the line of scrimmage. But there are new elements to it this year that I think people will like.
Vikes Bites.
Vikes Bites.
Time for one more. Harrison Phillips, 4 passes tipped at the line a year ago. And you had Van Ginkel with 6, by the way. So a focus on that up front. Do even better.
Oh, he 6 passes defense?
Van Ginkel did.
Good for him.
Phillips had 4.
Right.
So to last bit here, Pelissero had him on earlier in the week, as a matter of fact, talked about this point. You and I talked about it yesterday. KO chatting about how much he loves the depth of the wide receiving group. But Pelissero also reporting this morning, Vikings are seriously exploring, that was his quote, veteran receivers in the market. Notes that no trade is imminent, so he's not steamrolling on a pending deal. But they're actively looking, and there's 6 days, of course, until cutdown day, so it would have to be a trade now.
Wow.
Before cutdown day, after cutdown day, the opportunity to bring somebody off the street is going to be an option, but that's the report from Pelissero.
Well, if Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, Edina's finest, reports it, it's 10 of 10 accurate. And now what's the next layer? If indeed I'm glad you put in that part saying that nothing's imminent because of all the cuts coming next week, but perhaps I think he caught some steam that they may be trying to trade for a player who may be cut before he gets cut.
Yeah.
So therefore, you ain't got to deal with that. The next layer for me would be, can the player return punts? And I'm being serious with it. It's can a veteran like Brandon Powell is the example from last year and the one that you brought up this week. Yeah, I mean that's the kind of player, but hopefully with a little more potency on the offense. With the Patriots having come and gone. Yeah, I think it behooves me and us to kind of get into their training camp wide receivers and see with Keyshawn Boutte or maybe Kendrick Bourne, guys like that, do they have punt return equity? Do they have kick return equity? I think if you're looking at names around the NFL, keep in mind that if they trade for a receiver, then that could mean whatever's taking place with Jalen Naylor is worse than we think. Addison's only gone 3 games. So you got to be careful what you give up here just to fill a spot for up to the doubling game, because Addison will be back with Jefferson. Hawkinson plays like a receiver, and Jones catches it. So that's just the core 4 right there. But very interesting report by .com Tom.
We got Florio around the corner, so we'll press pause and we'll take a breath on the Vikes Bites, which are always brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef.
PFT, that's next on 9 to noon.
Man.
Hardcore football. PFT.
Hardcore Florio and PFT. We. ProFootballTalk.com and Mike Florio with us now. It's a Wednesday. And yesterday, Mike's new book, Big Shield, was loose. How did the big day go? And good morning.
The big day? I think it went well so far. It's always terrifying when you kick one of your projects out of the nest and it either flies or it goes splat. It's sold well so far. It helps that it's only priced for 99 cents, and I really don't care about the money. I just like it when the stuff that I create in my free time, number one, has a chance for people to read it and enjoy it. Number two, people do read it and they enjoy it. I think reading is something that we grow up hating because they force us to do it in school, and it takes us a while as adults to realize it's really not that bad, and it can be that thing that we look forward to as a break from the mundane crap that we have to deal with. And we all have our own mundane crap that we have to deal with. Routines bog you down. And it's great to have a book that you enjoy reading because you want to make time to read it. You look forward to having that opportunity in the evening, in the morning, whenever you have a free moment. And the dilemma when you find a good book is you want to read it all at once, but you also want to have it around for a while because you know the next book that you read may not be very good, and you find yourself in a long slog. I'm currently reading a book, and I won't name the title or the author, not that anyone cares, but it's a long slog. And at what point do you cut the cord and go find something else? It's just hard to find a book that kind of whisks you away and carries you through it. And I try to write that way because I try to write what I would want to read. And I know what I enjoy, and I just try to hope that barometer applies to everyone else. So, long story bearable, Big Shield, doing well so far. It's a football book. It's a gambling book. It's a mob book. It's not about the NFL for legal reasons, but as I've told you before, I can't stop people from associating the team in Las Vegas with the Raiders or the team in Baltimore with the Ravens or any of the other teams that are mentioned by city or state name with the actual real-life NFL counterparts.
Did your PFT Live partner and friend, Chris Sims, buy like 100 copies for family and friends?
He doesn't read. He's read one book in his life, something about the JFK assassination. I've sent him copies of my various books. I think he just puts them on the shelf. Although he did help me with this one because in chapter 1, as I'm setting the stage for what actually happens in the book, where you've got a backup quarterback with the Las Vegas not NFL franchise who's providing inside information to the mob for money both before and during games, I needed a real play call. So I asked him when I was writing it, give me like a real full-blown John Gruden play call that will be real, that will be accurate, and he gave me that. And I forgot to mention him in the acknowledgments for doing that, so I publicly credited him on PFT Live, and I'm doing it here. So other than that, I think that's the closest he's going to come to reading it. His very, very limited participation in writing it. That'll be it.
Michael, seriously and truly, congratulations. Terrific accomplishment. I know there are more to come, but very well done. And the preseason will be fait accompli after this week's games. Shoot, the Vikings and Bears Monday Night Madness is 19 days from now. Mike and the NBC crew assumedly will be in Philadelphia in 15 days for Cowboys and Eagles to open things. I'm becoming excited about this. What about you?
I get to a point where it's like, let's just start this. You know, I've got a 20-week travel thing where it's leave Saturday and go nonstop until I get home Monday, and then go nonstop when I get home Monday until I leave Saturday. But it still beats having a real job. As you know, we work in the toy department, but the football season is a grind, and I do get to a point, usually right about this time on the calendar, when I just want to get it going. Let's go. Let's get it started. And you're right, it's coming. 2 weeks from today, I'll head to Philadelphia for the game that we will televise on Thursday night, NBC and Peacock, Cowboys at the Eagles. What a way to start the season. We've got Ravens-Bills on Sunday night, and then that Monday night game. Boy, it's just a great feeling to get home after the first week of the season, go down to the barn, fire up Monday Night Football, especially when the Vikings are on week 1. What a way to start the season. Vikings at Bears right out of the gates. Better to go to Chicago in September than December, and that's just going to be a fun 3 hours, assuming that it goes the way that most of the folks listening to us now want it to go.
Mike, ProFootballTalk.com, the preferred National Football League related website of this 9 to noon radio show, and it has been for 20 plus years. I saw a tweet of yours yesterday. Now, I didn't know about this Netflix America's Team. All right, the Dallas Cowboys bit. I was just getting really bored with the Bills and Hard Knocks. It's just boring. So I saw your tweet. So then I fired up an episode and a half of America's Team last night, that Dallas Cowboys piece on Netflix. I mean, you said you couldn't stop watching it. I had to because I was tired. That opening 10 minutes of episode, I mean, that is so well done. I think there are 8 episodes. This looks like it's going to be fantastic, right?
What I do when I'm working on PFT, I put something on TV that serves as background noise. And the goal is to have something that is soothing and familiar and just kind of just becomes part of the atmosphere as I work on the articles. If it's something riveting and compelling, I can't work. So I put that thing on yesterday, and it was like, I got a job to do here. I'm being distracted every 5 or 10 seconds by something about this show, which is just incredible. And I'll tell you this. There is an extended segment on the 1992 NFC Championship game. That's the year that Denny Green showed up. The Vikings had a great regular season, lost 24-7 to Washington in the first round of the playoffs. But it all came down to Cowboys 49ers, as it did for multiple straight seasons. The time they spend on that, and this is not an exaggeration, it is as good as anything I've ever seen. Now, that comes from my own unique background of loving football and remembering those days very vividly, but it feels like you're on the sideline. It feels like you're on the field. Great footage that feels like it was shot yesterday, 33 years later.
Right.
It is such a compelling tale of that game, and it has flashbacks to Jerry Jones' formative years, but it keeps coming forward to that game. It really, really was well done. And I mean it. I don't know that I've seen anything better than that, especially in a non-fiction setting, something that really happened, documentary type thing. I'm amazed by it. And, I was talking earlier about having a good book and you want to kind of parse it out. When you have something like this, a good series, 8 episodes, I want to watch them all right now, but I also want to space them out. Like, I need something when I work out, when I'm on my bike every day. I need something to watch that will help me forget that I'm working out. And it's like, man, I really want to ride that for a week, but I want to watch it all right now. So it's a hell of a dilemma, because I'm telling you, once you start, if you're a football fan, and if you've been paying attention to the NFL for a long time, and if you remember those days when the Cowboys were great and the 49ers were great, and they were the two behemoths of the NFC, you will not be able to stop watching it once you get started.
How about lastly on this? This moment in episode 1 was jarring for me. Jerry, so Tom Landry's fired. You got 150 media members talking to Jerry Jones, who just recently had purchased the team. And they're peppering him about Jimmy Johnson. So he's announcing Jimmy Johnson to be the coach. And somebody asked him a question about what's next for him, or what his role would be. He looked right at president of the team and general manager Tex Schramm and said, I want his job. And then he took it. And then the video, the old school video they had with Tex Schramm crying, talking about not doing the job. Wow, are you kidding me with that?
I think about it, 29 years from the inception of the team. Tom Landry, the coach, Tex Schramm in charge of the team. And the idea, the audacity of Jerry Jones, it would not fly today. Think of one of these oligarchs swooping in and buying an NFL team and saying in the introductory press conference, oh, by the way, I'm going to be the general manager of the team as well. I think that once we get into the 90s and sports talk radio really mushrooms into what it now is, and you have all the different shows that are out there, you've got the internet, whereas there's a constant churn of potential scrutiny and criticism, I don't think anybody could ever begin to get away with it. Jerry Jones did it because he was right at the end of the pre-internet focus and everything that's out there now, and he was able to pull it off. But it really is amazing. He had no experience, no credentials. Yes, he played college football at Arkansas in the 60s, but when you're doing all sorts of other jobs after that, not involved in professional football, how in the world do you think you're going to show up and be able to figure out how to run a pro football team? It really is amazing. And there's a great thing that you'll see later where he and Jimmy Johnson were being interviewed by Bob Costas as part of the pregame show for Super Bowl 28. And Costas really drills down on this idea of, does Jimmy Johnson, former teammate of Jerry Jones at Arkansas, does he respect Jones as a football person? And although Jimmy Johnson doesn't come out and say, no, I don't, his point is, I've been doing this for 30 years. He hasn't. So all of that. I mean, it really is a unique tale, and it is such a key part of the fabric of the history of the National Football League, especially because Jerry Jones was the first prominent new guard owner. It was all family-owned businesses that were playing this sport for decades. In comes Jones as the outsider who makes himself into an insider and really helps dictate the on-field and off-field future of the NFL from that point forward, whether you like him, whether you don't, whether you love the Cowboys or hate the Cowboys. And I went into this wanting to hate it and loving it. And I told one of my friends that, and his reaction was, that pretty much sums up everything there is about the Cowboys. As much as you want to hate them, there is something that you have to respect about how they've become prominent, stayed prominent, and whenever there's a Cowboys game on, you have to watch it. Even if you hate them, even if you don't care about one team or another, even if you're just in it for fantasy football, you have to watch the Dallas Cowboys.
PFT
is
HOF.
So following this at ProFootballTalk.com, I haven't seen the latest if there's something today. So Matthew Stafford is practicing, yet the coach says it's putting the cart before the horse to say he starts the season. What gives here?
Well, I think the initial goal when Matthew Stafford developed a back issue after the offseason program, and I think it just kind of happened around the house like happens to so many of us. Like for me, I've got a sacroiliac joint that will go out of line from time to time, and the dumbest things make it happen. I sit down on a chair wrong. I put my belt on the wrong way. I try to do it tighter than it should, and I just feel that little twinge, and it's like, I've just bought myself 2 weeks of discomfort. So Matthew Stafford has one of those around-the-house moments where his back flares up. They give him an epidural, and the goal, I believe, was to keep him off the field until it completely and totally settled down and got back to normal. And anybody that's had back problems like that, it flares up, it dies down, and then you're back to normal. The problem is he came back and threw 68 passes some 10, 11 days ago with the goal of him returning to practice 2 days later. He doesn't return to practice. He doesn't feel great. And then it becomes this mystery of when's he going to be back. So he came back and practiced on Monday. And McVay said we're really taking it a day, actually a week at a time. It just tells you they don't know how this is going to go. The goal was let it settle down. He'll be fine. He'll be able to go through the season. Now it's, you know what, this thing is kind of there. And we have no reason to believe it's going to completely go away. We're going to have to manage this. I think that's the subtext. Well, that's fine until he starts playing regular season games and starts getting hit. Once you start getting hit, once you start getting knocked down, when are you not going to be able to practice? When are you not going to be able to play? When are they going to have to go with Jimmy Garoppolo? And the margins are so tight in today's NFL. A game or two here or there. If you don't have a backup quarterback that you feel good about his ability to come in and win those games, that's the difference when we look at the final standings. That's the difference between winning a division, losing a division, getting a playoff spot, not getting a playoff spot. So this is a very high-stakes situation for the Rams, who otherwise seem to be right in the middle of that Super Bowl window. Favorable schedule this year, a lot of great young players, but their quarterback is 37, and he's got this back problem, and there is a drop-off from Matthew Stafford to Jimmy Garoppolo.
Now, former Ram Jared Goff was a perfect quarterback for Ben Johnson, a play caller who is an alpha. Caleb Williams executes, let's say, a little more free will during plays than Goff. How patient do you expect Caleb and Ben and Caleb to be with each other?
Well, look, Caleb Williams is the guy to whom they've tied their future. He's the franchise quarterback, and he's the player that they brought in Ben Johnson to properly develop. Now, at some point, Johnson is going to come to his conclusions about what Caleb Williams' ceiling really is. And that's going to take some time for them to have that mutual understanding. But I know this. Johnson is intrigued by the ability to have a quarterback who can, and I think this is the thing that separates good quarterbacks from great quarterbacks, those who can make something happen on the fly when the play that's called isn't there. Goff is a run-the-play-that's-called guy. Kirk Cousins is a run-the-play that's called guy. A lot of quarterbacks are run-the-play that's called. What do you do when that play goes sideways? The great ones will come up with another play. Just instinctively. Patrick Mahomes is the best example of that. So I think in Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson sees a guy who could become that. And they're very intrigued, for example, about how he runs the 2-minute drill, because that's when you are more free form. You know, it's what you do instinctively, the stuff that can't be coached, making plays happen when you're in the middle of this chaos. And that's what a quarterback really is. He's the guy who is just at the center of the storm, trying to see and process and understand everything that's happening in front of him and everything that's happening 10, 20, 30 yards down the field. And so I think Johnson likes that. The question is harnessing it and maximizing it and working together to have a playbook that will consist of plenty of plays that work, but when they don't, what does Williams do? And, you know, as I said earlier, margins are tight. Whether it's game by game, whether it's quarter by quarter, whether it's drive by drive, whether it's play by play. You take a bad play, one bad play, and turn it into a good play. That can turn a drive into a point scorer, and those points can turn a loss into a win, and that one win turns a non-playoff team into a playoff team.
Lastly, and with the right to change the opinion when we assumedly speak 2 weeks from today before you go to Dallas and Philly, the Vikings and Bears. Do you expect the Vikings to beat the Bears in that first one?
Well, I never know what to expect. And look, I always say, first game of the season, throw it out. It means nothing. And the only teams that should be concerned after week one are the teams that lose at home to division rivals, because then you got to go on the road later in the year, and you're looking at a sweep potentially. And if you get swept, good luck winning the division. If you get swept by one of your division rivals, because you lose the tiebreaker right there. And again, margins are tight. So this is a more important game for the Bears than the Vikings, but what an advantage for the Vikings. I mean, look at the NFC North. And I think that division is going to be decided by how they do against each other. Because, look, this year, schedule's tougher. You're not going to have these bloated records because you've got NFC East top to bottom, AFC North top to bottom. That's going to be critical for these teams when they get to the round-robin home-and-home thing. So I think it's a huge game, high stakes for the Bears. If the Vikings can go in and win it, and that's going to be our first real look at J.J. McCarthy and what he does. And I keep going back to 2000 when we first got a look at Dante Culpepper. And I remember the aftermath of that week one game. You feel like, yeah, they got a guy who can play. And I think that's what we're all waiting for. Even if the Vikings would lose that game, if it looks like McCarthy is the guy, fits the part, looks like he belongs, that's something Kevin O'Connell can work with this year, next year, the year after that, and beyond. That's what the Vikings really need. You know, it's been a long time. Dante Culpepper's the closest thing they've had to a year in and year out franchise quarterback, and he gave them 5.5 good years until he had that horrible knee injury against the Panthers in 2005. They haven't had a long-term guy since Fran Tarkenton. It really is amazing to think. When you go back and look at the starting quarterbacks, there hasn't been a long-term franchise guy in Minnesota since Tarkenton, and I think they're doing the right thing, rolling the dice with J.J. McCarthy to see if he can become that guy.
Book drop 5, right? We had Playmaker, Christmas, Father, Son, and now Big Shield, right?
Yeah, and look, I got 6 others in the hopper, and I was talking to my son last night about what to do with this. Part of me just wants to say, screw it, let's get them all done. Let's just flood the zone. Let's just get them all out there. I mean, they just sit. That's the problem. I write one, and I finish it, and I move on to the next one. And they sit until I come back and say, all right, let's get this thing ready to go. So, I don't know. I'm thinking about just getting them all ready to go. Just one at a time. Boom, get it out there. Boom, get it out there. So, you know, I enjoy the process. It's a great balance to the millions of words I've written over the last 25 years that are relevant for one day, and then by the next day, nobody cares. Dance for us again. Tell us more about what's happened in the NFL today, and it's the next day and the next day and the next day. It's never ending. It's fun to create something that you can put on a shelf and read a year from now or whatever the case may be. So more to come. And Big Shield, 99 cents. You can't find anything cheaper than that. Football, gambling, and the mob, but not the NFL because I don't want to be sued.
ProFootballTalk.com to get you started on where to find it. I'll call you next week. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Paul.
Mike Florio. PFT, yeah, you know we, ProFootballTalk.com, discussing the Vikings Bears at the end there. J.J. McCarthy starting the game in 19 days for the Minnesota Vikings. He's part of something called quarterback quandaries. even though there's not necessarily a quandary putting a Q around J.J. McCarthy, but we're going to go through all four of them and share some thought up to an interview with Max Brosmer, quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings out of the University of Minnesota. That starts the second hour of the Wednesday presentation. This is 9 to noon.